these 10 seconds, whatever it was, nearly as much as I'd made in a whole of last year teaching.
Hey folks, it's Tommy Z. I've been talking to another Tom. We've been chatting for an hour now?
Or so.
But we did have an idea to make it beneficial, not just for us, but for some of you who may be interested in Tom's story. Because recently I got an email from you and you said to me, look, man, I got to thank you because I just got a real job, my first project. You did something for Amazon. Getting this project made you realize that your day job, the gig that you have that pays you, which is teaching others music in school, you just started questioning your entire existence when you got the paycheck for this short little commercial.
The regular job is music teacher, just private one-to-one lessons, like after school for kids in the local area, which is fine, but it takes up a lot of time. These 10 seconds, whatever it was, nearly as much as I'd made in a whole of last year teaching. I wrote that music in 3 hours. Obviously, it was a simple brief.
But it is what it is. Complex brief, simple brief. The
Yeah.
payoff versus the amount of work put in. It's brands. They have billions. To them, it's change under the car seat. But to us,
True.
musicians, it's significant for the amount of work.
This was through this company who one of the first production houses to be offering me pitches when I started this whole process. So that was 2021. Pitched for them a few times, did this library album and just bits and bobs. So this was the first one to go final with them, which is great. This pitch actually came up in amongst another pitch I was doing for them at the time for Canon. That pitch was so complicated. They had like 3 references, all completely different. And the final reference was, we hate this, don't use this, but also kind of use it at the same time. Even the supervisor was a little muddled up in that. So I'd been kind of really focusing on that a lot and like concentrating on it. And then I think after the first round of demos, I had this Amazon Ring pitch come through from the supervisor. And he was like, we just need some wee short thing, basically meditative sound bed, very uncomplicated. It was just a few sentences really. And he was like, I know you're doing this other thing, but would you have time to just like knock this out? So yeah, put something together. He was like, this is cool. Given it's so simple, do you want to do another one? Because, you know, it would be worth increasing your chances here. Did another little demo for it as well. That was then got picked up to be going final. In fact, the first demo I did was the one they picked. My least favorite one of the 2, but it's all subjective, isn't it?
If you have another idea, send that. Like, even though you might only be getting demo fee for 1 track, the value of giving someone 3 demos when you first met them, but they're only paying you for 1, or they're not even paying you because they want to give you a chance, but you send them 3 strong demos. They allowed you to like open the suitcase and show all the wares. Okay, so what are you selling? Oh my God, he did this electronic thing, and then he sent us this acoustic thing, and then he sent us this other thing, which was totally not on brief, but for some reason it worked. What you've just accomplished is you literally gave them a clear indication of what they can rely on you for in the future. It could mean the next 5 years of projects coming from that particular person.
Another great thing about this, I don't feel like I'm wasting time with anything I'm making, because it's like that might come in handy in a few months' time for some kind of brief or something, you know. The Canon one kind of just faded away. They said they liked my demo the best, but they also hated all of them.
Right. But it doesn't matter. Like, the thing for me to take out of this, and for anyone watching this, is it's not about this demo, this brief, that brief, this project, that project. Like, the crucial lesson here is that you have a connection with a music producer, music supervisor at a specific company, and that's the value. Because they send you Canon, they send you Amazon, they send you this, they send you that. Some of it goes, some of it they hate, some of it they love. But the source of the opportunity is this connection that you made with this person at this company. And that's what I'm trying to get through people's heads, right? But I'm curious, like, how much did you know about this world before you joined our academy?
0. I knew nothing. I guess I never really thought about the music in commercials, or like I knew obviously there was a lot of licensed stuff, so I was aware of that people were obviously making money by licensing tunes, but I guess I never really thought about, well, what about those little snippets of music and those bits? And going through the course, it was really clear. So I never felt unsure of what I should be doing. It was like, it seemed like a very direct path. It's like, as long as you stick to this, and of course, if the music's good, like, you're going to get somewhere. It was definitely anxious starting to like reach out to people, and I started quite small. Actually, when I started reaching out to people, I was just reaching out to like TV or like ad producers, like just in Glasgow, like in this city, because I figured, well, I can get them for like a face-to-face. Then that wasn't working out for the first couple months. I was like, you gotta just like, take your reel seriously, take your website seriously, actually start reaching to supervisors, specifically at like music houses, mostly focused on like ads and TV and stuff. Then like even just getting that first reply from someone to be like, sure, let's have a meeting, and then like trying me out on some stuff. Yeah, I feel like all these like little steps where it was just kind of testing that self-confidence of like putting myself out there. And whilst it was like, that's a small step, actually getting that reply, and then another small step that they want to meet, and then another small step, they give you a little project, and like each time is just built that confidence to be like, okay, I'm meant to be here, it's like it's not
You
like
belong.
I belong here. Yeah, exactly.
Isn't it amazing the block that we have? Because you must realize that you're making pretty cool stuff. I mean, it's like you have good taste, and like when you work on music for yourself, you're probably, bouncing around in your studio. You're like, oh wow, I love the way this is coming together.
For
But
sure.
then when it's like time to reach out to someone, suddenly you freeze and you're like, oh, I don't know if I should. Why wouldn't you share it? Like, it's giving you goosebumps. This is why, like, mindset for me, as much as this word is overused, it really is the make it or break it. If your musical talent and your abilities are obviously in place, I find that what breaks most people is like they convince themselves of something which is not even true. And it prevents you from just emailing people. Like, who gives a shit? Just share your stuff,
I knew going into it, these people are so busy. The more I've just reached out to people, I've realized that is, for the most part, why they're not replying, is because they are just too busy.
So it's nothing personal.
Yeah, exactly. This comes full circle actually back to this project, because the supervisor I was trying to meet, she cancelled our initial meeting 6 times. Every time she'd be like, sure, we'll call tomorrow. And then I'd call her and she'd be like, oh, we're way too busy. Sorry, I just can't do it. And after like the third, fourth time, I was like, okay, I don't know how I should feel about this anymore. But just like kept being polite. It was like, sure, like no worries. You've probably got a lot going on, so I'll try tomorrow. And then we did. She put me in touch with her colleague, and then both him and her, been just sending me stuff like ever since. So those follow-up emails paid off.
You're getting like what, one project a month on average from them?
Yeah, I'd say on average it's about once a month I'll get something through from either
And
one
that
of
and
them.
that shows you also like how it's completely useless to get emotional about the fact that someone doesn't reply or they reschedule a meeting 6 times, because
Yeah.
you realize once you meet with
Yeah.
them that you added a story onto that, whereas the truth was
Yeah, that's
very
true.
simple. But that should also not deter anyone from thinking like I'm very quiet, or like I'm very kind of laid back. I don't like rah rah rah. I don't like drama. And the advertising world, maybe you don't need to do any of that. There's room for every personality. All that a music producer like me or a music supervisor cares about is when they send you a musical problem, you send them back an answer. Even if it doesn't sell, it doesn't matter. It's not up to you. It's not even up to them, because they have a client too. All they know is Tom Walters has just sent me a very viable answer to this question. Whether the client
Yeah.
will accept it, and so that's the only thing that matters, because that's what solidifies your relationship. It's the same for me. I never saw myself touring or being a full-time artist. But I
Yeah.
certainly could see myself as being this craftsperson at the intersection of art and commerce, where I can represent the best of musical craft to these sometimes frustratingly cheesy brands. And then on the other side, you know, I can go to the coolest musicians and artists and they love me because like they want to sell or send an invoice to a brand for music, even if they don't put their name on it.
Something that stressed me at the beginning or kind of like just threw me off a little was when those first briefs started appearing at like proper pitches, and you know, they say like, here's the fee, and it's this sum of money you wouldn't have dreamed of making in this other job or whatever. Sometimes that put the pressure on, but not in a good way. I just got too caught up in that where I was like, oh god, okay, like really need to be careful. So sometimes I'd maybe be too careful with what I was submitting, or too much, like not really following the brief, because I was like, okay, it has to be like really special and it's got to have this, it's got to do all that, when actually it just got to follow the brief. Read the brief and read the brief again, and if there's nothing that made sense, call up the supervisor and just clarify everything so that I know at least whatever I send to them, I've done the best I could have possibly done, and I've checked everything I could have done.
One way to remove the stakes or the pressure is to realize all doesn't end with you.
Yeah.
There's other people have been invited to the pitch, so you can take that pressure off, because like Amazon is not going to go bankrupt because you did the wrong thing for the demo for their one of their millions of campaigns. 10-second ad for Amazon, okay, with a very simple brief, meditative style music, and you took not very long to come up with it, and it paid you almost the same amount that a year's worth of your day job would pay you. Maybe it's worth examining, or at least looking into this path, this direction, and learning about the concrete steps you need to take to get into it. And I think it will strengthen you as a craftsperson, because it does need you to get outside of your comfort zone, to share your music, to email some people, but you can see that honey at the end of the hard work. So that's very inspiring, man.